Alright, so we're going to move on here and get towards some final assembly steps. Before we do that, there's a section that I want to seal up because we're about to close it in, and it'll make it pretty hard to get to later. So I've got my box here, and I know this is a pretty extreme close-up. I apologize for that. What we're going to do is turn the box onto one side like this, and what I'm interested in here is at the front where the basket is this gap here between the shoulder and the cheeks. And if I put the box like this, it'll be a little bit easier to see, but what I'm talking about is right here where these two shoulders are. If I turn the box like this, it's this gap here that I'm interested in making sure is sealed up. And that process is very straightforward. We're just going to drop cement into that crack there. So I've got my applicator on, and I'm just going to go down here. Put a pretty good bead in here. And after I get past the halfway point, on this side. But once I have that cement in there, I'm just going to let this dry for about 5 minutes, just enough to become a nice gel that won't run any further. And then I'm going to flip the box over and do the same thing on the other shoulder. As you apply the cement to this gap here, you want to be careful about letting too much cement squeeze out. Like, you want to really try to keep it down inside that crack, just to avoid making bumps on these surfaces here, which are actually part of the chute that coins need to be able to slide down. So we don't really want a bunch of bumps on that if we can help it. So just make sure you use your applicator tip and move slowly, and just try to keep the cement right inside that little gutter there, so that we don't get too much on the cheeks here. If you do see some pop out, you can use our old trick of just taking an applicator tip and just trying to plow it sort of away but before it dries up. And we'll let this sit for about 5 minutes just to gel up, and then we'll flip the machine onto its other side and do the other cheek. Okay, this side's had several minutes to gel up. I'm not worried about that cement running around anymore, so I'll flip over to the other side and I will seal this gap up as well. Again, making sure I use an applicator tip and moving slowly. Make sure that all the cement that I apply stays in that gutter that we want to seal. There. We'll give this side 5 minutes, and then we'll get on with what we're doing next. Alright, so now my box has been sitting around long enough that I'm pretty happy with how dry the cement is here in this weatherproofing spot where we filled that gap. And the reason that we did that, I think I might have mentioned, is because we're about to make it pretty hard to get to this spot by putting the outer cheeks on. And that is going to form our coin funnel and enclose these baffles. So I'm going to go one side at a time here, and we're going to repeat this on both sides since we have coin slots on both sides. So for this part, I've collected 8 16mm machine screws and 8 nuts. I've got my driver handy, and also my needle nose pliers will come in handy. So we'll want to grab this part. We actually have 2 of these. They're identical, so it doesn't matter which one you grab. But this is the outer cheek, and it's distinctive for its 2 tabs on one side and 1 tab here on the center of the other, and this cutoff corner here. So this is going to slot. Let me see if I can make the lighting situation a little better here. Maybe. This is going to slot right here into the face of the machine, and then sort of rotate into position so that this slot here goes into the tab on the front of the basket that it's meant to mate with. And this will be fastened with screws. And the reason for that, or sorry, to be clear, this will be fastened with screws, and we will use no cement here. because we don't want to permanently bond this. This is a part that we want to be able to get back into later, just in case a bird stuffs something weird down in the coin slot or something else happens and you just need to clean, or maybe you need to replace the cushions on your baffles one day. So in the interest of maintenance, we're only going to screw this in place. I will also mention that this is a slightly aggravating step, perhaps, but patience will get you through it. So to get started, I am going to put, well, to get started, I'm going to hold the part like this, and I'm going to put machine screws through right there. Those two holes are really close to one another, and then hold them in place while I go around the other side and take this baffle. And remember, the small baffles we only taped on one side, and that's the tape side is the upside. So with the upside up, I'm going to put this onto these machine screws and then back them out until they're just flush. And so that leaves a lot of screw heads sticking out this side. That's what we need for this point in this step. And then I'll take my other two more of these 16mm screws and put them in the remaining two holes in this cheek. And I want to hang this baffle off of those in pretty much the same way. I have a little bit of a tight screw down here, so I'm just going to use my driver to advance that a little bit. And I'll hold these from the outside and get them onto this baffle here. Now, it's possible that your cementing process molded some threads into your baffles. And if that's the case, you'll need to do what I'm doing now, which is use your driver to advance that machine screw. Maybe necessary to make a little alignment change. There we go. So now I have my two baffles sort of pinned against the cheek with machine screws, but you'll notice I've got these screw heads sort of flush with the baffles, and that's because for this part here, to install them, we don't want any extra material sticking inward. So I just put my two tabs into the face of the machine like this, and then rotate this part until that front tab catches the slot that it belongs in here on the faceplate of the basket. Next, I'm going to want to advance these machine screws so that this can stay together while I occupy my hands doing something else. It's a little too much stuff to just hold together, so I want it to hold itself as well as it can. So I'm going to push all of these screws, push or drive, whichever is required to get them in. Some will push, some will drive, just depending on how your cementing went in earlier phases. Neither of those is better than the other, so don't worry if yours push or they screw or they are some combination of that. So I'll turn this around, and now we see I've got my machine screws protruding inside the basket here. Maybe you can't see that one I just pointed at, that guy down there. And now I want to get nuts onto these, and that's kind of a pain. So what I like to do is use my needle nose pliers for this, and just put a nut in the jaws of the pliers at kind of an angle, so that it's, when I reach in like this, I've got the nut at the right angle. And then just advance that machine screw with my driver until the nut starts to thread. And right now, just a little bit of threading is enough. Again, I just want this assembly holding itself together fairly well while I free my hands up for other jobs. And it's a little bit of a tight fit here up next to the machine, but it's much easier with the pliers, as you can see. And we have one down here in the front corner, which I'm going to do awkwardly for myself, but perhaps better for the camera. So I've got a little nut held in my pliers here, but I wasn't able to find a good way to shoot that, I'm afraid. There. But you can see now that I've got a nut sort of piloted onto that machine screw there. And then next, I'm just going to flip this box over, because the final nut is secured from beneath like this. There. Now I'm going to go around and tighten these guys. So using my needle nose pliers to just hold the nuts. I'll just drive them in. They don't need to be tightened mercilessly, just snug enough. It'll be a little easier for you to see what you're doing on your build on account of your transparent plastic is actually transparent, whereas I've got mine scuffed up to show up better on camera. All right. So I'm happy with that. So now I've got my outer cheek on and my baffles inside, and that has formed the coin chute so that a coin dropped anywhere along this shoulder off of the sliding lid into this slot here will find its way into the machine and it'll pop out right here at this coin slot, and that'll make a little more sense in a future step when we install the coin sensor. But for now I can just test this. You can see that my coins are coming, they're shooting on in there. So that's what I'm looking for. That is a finished baffle over there. Now the whole process gets repeated on this other side. Again, just once you familiarize yourself with the way that the cheek actually goes on, then it's easy to figure out how to put these baffles on. So I'll probably run this part forward at least at double speed. So you don't have to watch the whole thing, but just in case there's a detail that's interesting, it'll give you a second chance to see that. I will say at this point, if you're having a little trouble getting this bottom baffle on, that is one where you may have to double check the alignment and just make sure the holes in your baffle are lined up with the holes in the cheek there. Now there is an issue that you might bump into here where you have a screw that just won't push at all and it must be threaded through. If that's the case, you may have trouble getting a nut onto that and tighten because the screw won't actually turn in its screw hole once you've advanced it the whole way. If you find yourself in that situation, just back the screw out till there's almost none of it sticking into the basket and get the nut on it there and then advance the screw. That can happen sometimes, and again, it just has to do with whether or not the plastic cement melted really robust threads into the plastic in an earlier phase of the build when we were laminating these baffles together to make them thicker. But that's, in this, just like in this case here, easily solved by just getting the nut onto the machine screw as early as you can. All right, so now I have both of my outer baffle cheeks or basket cheeks on, and all my baffles are inside, so I can test my coin slots on both sides of the machine. And we'll be ready to move on now. We're done with the basket completely, and now we'll install the coin sensor down inside, and I think that at that point this whole business of the basket and the baffles and the coin handling will start to make a little bit more sense.